It is still my conviction, as I wrote in 1947.
Hey, Composer Gloves here, and today is the last day in the Liquid Drum and Bass arena. It is, hopefully you've gotten some cool ideas about it. Honestly, you probably should have cool ideas. You should be able to make drum and bass at this point. Now we're just sort of looking at specific examples and what you can sort of do as you go. So I'm going to explain what I did to this last section of the Liquid Drum and Bass track, which is called Explore the Universe. If you've been watching the previous ones, I'll be explaining from where I left off in the other video. It's mostly structural stuff. I just added in some additional structures, and I have all the parts here. Now, I'm not going to have a mix down and a mastering video for this track. They're just unnecessary. You've seen my process for the most part. I'm always growing and developing and changing stuff, but with school, it's made me sort of chop things up, so I'm not going to do a mix down video. We're looking at the compositional side principally. Now, I have not mixed it down. I'm going to play it for you. There will be cracks and pops, and the headphones, just the drop's gonna hit a million times harder after the mix down, like so much harder. But all the elements are there. All you got to do is mix them to make them sound spectacular. Another thing is, before I really quick play it, headphones. If you're listening over headphones, you're going to be robbed of the drop experience because it's built around the bass like normally. But in this case, it's really important that you have the ability for it to just bang, just really big right there in the sub area. So I'm going to mix it so it'll sound good over headphones, but that's just something the headphone experience will give you in general, is when you listen over headphones, you're robbed of that sort of chest moving, like it's just not as big. It's just by definition not as big. You're bypassing the rest of your body, which also helps interpret sound through bone conduction and stuff like that, which in this case doesn't really have that big of a deal, but it moves you. You know what I'm saying? So like if you've ever been in your car, cranked it up and your seat shake and all that stuff, that's what I'm going for here. So when I mix it down, it'll fix some of that, but it's just something that is just a problem that I have to face as a drum and bass producer. But people who listen to drum and bass, they know what it sounds like over a real system because that's where they typically listen. Hopefully, if you're a brand new drum and bass, you should get a system with some sub if you intend to do this. So I'm going to play it for you, and yeah, so clicks pops just because my computer is working pretty hard to make this thing happen. Like a lot of clicks and pops, because I'm also running additional programs like the screen recorder software. So here we go in 3, 2, 1. Shooting stars fly by in the sky where you're meant to. Gravity is chained to your core. Will you be free? Break that chain. Explore the universe. Gravity is chained to your core. Will you be free? Break that chain. So yes, that is the piece. As you can see, there's a lot of clicking and popping. Why is all that clicking and popping, Mr. Gloves? Well, that's just from all this stuff. And again, I swear there's a kick there. You can kind of hear it. You can hear it over the headphones, like you can hear it, but it's not popping, if you know what I'm saying. So that'll be something we're gonna need to fix. We're gonna need to make the kick pop because that's a big deal in drum and bass. But for the most part, I'm really happy where this has ended up. There are a couple of moments where I'm like, ooh, that's kind of a weird thing. It's kind of not a weird thing. So those are things I may have to alter. So anyways, let's go over this linearly and what I have changed here. So this whole front half, I didn't do nothing. So this is all the same. This middle part, again, didn't do really anything. I went through and maybe mixed a couple things differently, but that's like, it's tiny stuff. So nothing to really worry about here. Didn't change anything. I guess there is one change. I went through the string part. Whoa, that was my dog. I went through the string part and changed it up a bit. So this like dun 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 dun, because originally it was just straight eighth notes and that just isn't as interesting. So I went through and made it more interesting. Just some chord voicings and stuff. We're just sounding different parts of the chord at least. And came through here. I added some of these crashes, which I feel really help a lot. And then I came to this part where, so I was making this drop, right? And I had up to like here or something when I last saw you. And I was like, man, what do I do? What do I do? I guess I'll just keep jamming because it was jamming. So I kept jamming. And then I reached a point where I'm like, I could jam like this forever. Like I need to come up with something here. So I decided to just go back to the vocal and just have it sort of just drop out. So we have all this monster stuff and then pooh. So I might add a little more, something ethereal, whatever that is, ambient right here to give it a more sense of like space, like, like some noise or something. But for the most part, I'm really happy with this, and I just brought it in. I decided to keep it simple because we had so much going on right here. I was like, dang, I need to friggin' simplify this. So I did. I simplified it, and you can hear it rising and rising. And then I kind of like the way it drops right here because it's sort of sudden and like, whoa. Because you hear it come in dun, dun, dun right here. And then it only has a couple additional risers with it. But the same phrase, dun, 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 comes in again to signal the drop. And so it sort of throws a curveball at you. And that's just the way it rolls. And it's got you don't expect it to drop again so fast. So I kind of really liked the vibe here. I might make it a little more intense here, but I just kind of like that idea that it comes at you and sort of, you're already like, whoa, and then you're going again. So, and it does the same thing again, of course, because it's really complicated drop. The ear has something to grab with that string part, but there's so much to listen to here that it warrants a second listen. So sometimes things don't warrant a second listen, but I feel like the parts are driving enough to all be going at the same time and have the second listen. This probably actually should not be here. So those are, if you're wondering what those are the first time is fine. These other two times though, they don't need to be there. This is the rise and hit. Yeah, so they don't need to be there. The first time's for the build-up though, so that's okay. We're cool with that one. On the mix down, this is gonna sound really phenomenal, especially the relationship between the kick and all these basses and stuff. Oh man, it's gonna be so cool. So anyways, went through there. I was thinking about doing a key change, which is something that if you've written a piece of music like this, key change could be a really powerful move. I did not do it though because it just wasn't working for me. I was moving stuff up a fifth. And I have one moment where I kept a piece of it, and I believe it is somewhere in here. Nope, that's not it. Is this it? No, that's not it. Did I miss it? Pattern 6, 10. Explore. Oh, it's right here. It's this one right here. So that dun 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 dun, that dun dun dun, that one was originally the result of what was going to be a key shift, and then I brought it back because I did not like where it was going, and so I kept it right there, which was really cool, and it still jives. Now I like the way it ends too, for the exact same reason that I like the way it starts. Some people, this might kill it for you. You might be like, oh man, I can't jive to this, blah 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 blah. You're just being a little prick about how you listen to your music. I'm the artist. I'm gonna do what I freaking want to do. So, anyways, it's a pretty standard 16 measure drop too. So like, I don't want to hear none of that crap. So Yeah, because some people be like, oh, you did it wrong because you didn't follow the one size fits all pop formula. It's like, I'm not making pop. So anyways, you probably don't fit that description, but I know there are people out there who do. I've read their comments, and I always think they're just being a bunch of wussies. And if they really want music like that, just go and write some music that fits your needs. So we come up here, and then I have the vocal Explore the Universe, which originally triggered a drop, and I pull another curveball at you and have it trigger the end. And then it just ends. And some people, especially over monitors, when everything's really just, you're listening to it in a great environment and you're just like, yes, and then it just ends. Some people would keep going. But I think here it's a really powerful thing to just end it, because then you're like, oh, like it's it. Like you want to keep listening. Like I've done my job here. Like if you feel like that at the end. Now in other cases, I may want to keep going, and the goal is not to leave you hanging like that, but because there is a sense of resolution. Like I do end it, but in other pieces, it's more about just being in the moment. That's kind of the side of Liquid. So I kind of pulled two sides here, because I get you really just grooving, and then I just drop you. So it's like, whatever. It's whatever. I added a couple cymbal rises. I time stretched one, and I added a couple impacts, stuff like this. But it is soft. Those are going to be things that the mixing, again, is going to be really interesting. I'm not showing the mix down. You've seen, I have several mix downs in this series that you can just go watch. It's a very similar thing. I just whip out different tricks for different things using general principles of mixing. So just trying to make it sound as clear and as good as I possibly can make it. And yeah, so that's pretty much that. There's not really much more about this track. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions about how this track rolled out, first go consult previous videos, but then, you can always ask me. I'll tell you whatever I remember about it, because a lot of stuff I just simply don't remember. I mean, like, do you remember everything you ever did? I didn't think so. So unless you're like, got, like, what is that, photographic memory? I'm not even sure if that applies for just remembering everything, though. I'm pretty sure that's a separate ability. Remembering simply everything versus photographic memory. Maybe it is the same thing, and I've been confused about the definition. Photographic memory, I thought, was when you just read something and you remember it, not necessarily you remember every single thing. But I'm sure maybe that's the same thing. I don't know. Anyways, I'm leaving this conversation. If you have any questions, let me know. Subscribe. The track will be up, and however long it takes me to finish the mix and master. And have a blessed day. Here it is.